I got the idea for today's video last year when Margarita Fisher shared the brilliant idea of making punch cards to automate the semi-automatic stitch patterns from the Small Stitch Pattern book. By making the punch cards for the stitch patterns, we can make our green Duomatics works fast almost as how the E6000 can. I'm not capable of covering all of the stitch patterns in this video, but I will try to explain to you the basics of how you can make almost any stitch pattern automatic. The stitch patterns that can't be automated are the ones where you have to change the settings on the backlock. There may be more exceptions, but this won't be the main topic of the video. I started knitting a set of baby clothes from the second baby book, and all of them are made with the same stitch pattern. The punch card for the pattern was given in the magazine, and this was what reminded me to explore this interesting topic. Before we get to the video, I want to take a minute and thank my big channel supporters Michele Laurentis and Tony Alonso. Thank you very much for believing in me and supporting my work. Now, without further delay, let's get to the machine. The stitch pattern I will use for knitting the baby clothes is a pretty simple one. I need to have several needles on the front bed in working position, and the pushers under them must be arranged in a 1-to-1 division. I will arrange the pushers in a way that the leftmost one will be in working position. To knit this stitch pattern, the front lock must be set to AX and the left arrow key must be pressed. But what will the machine do? On the row to the left, the machine will rearrange the pushers first, then it will knit according to the pusher arrangement. As you can see, after knitting the first row, the pushers changed their positions. When knitting the second row, the machine won't move the pushers. Basically, you have now knitted 2 rows with the pusher arrangement shown in the video. For the next 2 rows of the stitch pattern, you have to set the front lock to N and press the 0 key to disengage the arrow key. When the machine is set to N, all needles will knit, and since the 0 key is pressed, the pushers will remain in the same positions. Now you have to repeat the same steps to continue knitting the stitch pattern. First, set the front lock to AX and press the left arrow key. Now knit 2 rows. The machine will change the positions of the pushers before knitting the first row to the left, then it will knit the second row with the same pusher arrangement. For the following 2 rows, you have to set the front lock to N, then press the 0 key to disengage the arrow key. The machine won't move the pushers for these rows. But now let's look at the other components needed for creating a working punch card. This is a tuck pattern, therefore the machine is set to AX. When the lock is set to AX, all needles that have a pusher in working position will knit, and all needles that have a pusher in resting position will tuck. If you look closely, you will be able to notice that some of the needles are not getting all the way out. The yarn in their hook won't slip behind the latch, and the needle will catch the yarn from the eyelet without knitting the stitch. Now let's look at the card reader. The sensing feelers detect whether there are punch holes in the card. They have 2 positions. If they are forward close to the scale, there are no holes on the punch card, so all pushers above these feelers will stay in resting position. If the feelers are in the second position, there are holes punched in the card, so all the pushers above these feelers will go in working position. Now I'm making the preparations before punching the holes. I always like to mark all squares that need to be punched, no matter how easy the pattern is. This way it is less likely to make mistakes. Are you paying attention to the card? You have already seen the punch card given in the magazine, but can you notice something that looks odd? The first two rows of the pattern will be tuck rows and the pushers are arranged in a 1-to-1 division. This is visible on the card. But the next two rows are knit rows and all needles have to knit. When the machine is set to AX, only the needles with a working pusher will knit and the other needles will tuck. But every even row is empty. Why shouldn't we punch all holes on the even rows? Tell me in the comments, did you guess the reason for that? The reason for that is pretty simple. As you can see above the given diagram, the machine is set to AX but the left arrow key is pressed. This means that the machine will reverse the positions of the pushers, or in other words, the holes on the card are showing the pushers that will be in resting position. And can you imagine how wise is that? If you don't have the arrow key pressed, all 40 squares on every even row had to be punched too. Having the arrow key pressed will save you a lot of time punching holes, also the fewer the holes the card has, the more stable it is. I'm constantly amazed by how smart the Passap system is. Now let's test the punch card. I have made a single bed cast on and I will set the front lock to AX and press the left arrow key. Raise the pushers under all working needles on the front bed and put them in working position. Now attach the card reader to the center of the bed and insert the punch card until the sensing feelers are arranged for the first row of the pattern. Push the trip cam for the row counter to the left, slide the Deco device to the right, attach it to the front lock and set it to 2. Now simply start knitting. If your punch card is long enough, you can connect it into a loop. I had to manually reset the card because it was too short to be connected. I will leave a link if you want to download the punch card as a text file and use the online punch card generator to print out your copy of it. And this is the final result. We have successfully made a punch card for this beautiful stitch pattern. Maybe I will use this card for the next project, or I may show you something much more interesting. That's all for today. Now have a nice day and see you next time.